Welcome back to the channel. Today we're uncovering a dark and controversial topic: illegal drug testing on unsuspecting individuals. Throughout history, there have been instances where pharmaceutical companies, governments, and even medical institutions have conducted drug tests on people without their knowledge or consent. These unethical practices have led to severe health consequences and widespread outrage. In this episode, we'll explore the history of illegal drug testing, the methods used, the victims affected, and the ongoing fight for justice. Let's dive into this troubling chapter of medical history and expose the truth behind illegal drug testing. The history of illegal drug testing. Illegal drug testing has a long and disturbing history, often tied to the exploitation of vulnerable populations. In the mid-20th century, several major pharmaceutical companies were involved in drug trials that violated ethical standards. Prisoners, minorities, and poor communities were frequently targeted for these tests, as they had limited resources and little power to resist. One of the most infamous cases was the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, where African-American men with syphilis were left untreated so researchers could study the progression of the disease. Another notorious example involves the testing of unapproved drugs on prison inmates in the United States during the 1950s and 60s, where many were exposed to harmful substances without proper oversight or consent. MKUltra, a covert CIA project in the 1950s, took this practice even further by secretly administering hallucinogenic drugs like LSD to unwitting participants, all in the name of research into mind control and behavior modification. The lack of informed consent and the harmful outcomes of these programs set a disturbing precedent for illegal drug testing. Methods used in illegal drug testing. Illegal drug testing often involves administering drugs without proper safety protocols or consent from the individuals involved. Some of the common methods include: 1. Testing on vulnerable populations. Individuals from marginalized communities, prisoners, people in psychiatric institutions, and low-income populations were often used as test subjects. These people had little ability to refuse, and in many cases they weren't informed of the risks. 2. Lack of transparency. In many cases, subjects weren't told what drugs they were being given, or they were misled about the purpose of the testing. Some trials were conducted under the guise of medical treatments or routine health checks, leaving participants unaware of the potential dangers. 3. Unregulated and dangerous substances. These tests often involved drugs that were still experimental and hadn't undergone sufficient safety trials. In some cases, the drugs had severe side effects, leading to long-term health issues or even death for the individuals involved. The victims of illegal drug testing. The victims of illegal drug testing were often the most vulnerable in society. Prisoners, the mentally ill, impoverished communities, and racial minorities were frequently used as test subjects. Many experienced permanent health damage, psychological trauma, and loss of trust in medical institutions. In some cases, families of victims only found out about the drug tests years later, after the damage had already been done. One of the most devastating impacts of these tests was the eroded trust between marginalized communities and the medical establishment. For decades, communities of color in particular have been wary of participating in medical research due to the deep scars left by unethical drug testing practices. Fighting for justice. In response to the revelations of illegal drug testing, victims and activists have fought for accountability and compensation. Lawsuits, government inquiries, and the development of ethical standards like the Belmont Report in 1979 have helped protect people from being exploited in future medical research. The Nuremberg Code, developed after World War II, also laid the groundwork for the informed consent that is now a cornerstone of ethical medical research. However, the legacy of illegal drug testing still casts a long shadow. Many victims are still fighting for justice, and concerns about transparency and ethics in the pharmaceutical industry persist. While progress has been made, the need for constant vigilance and stronger regulations remains. If you found this exploration of illegal drug testing informative, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.